My first question was one of the things that I've loved about Pet Sematary as a whole is that it is actually a story that women, a Stephen King story that women have really excelled in telling and adapting. And Pet Sematary Bloodlines is an addition to the legacy of Pet Sematary, but it's also a look to the past. Can you tell me a little bit about how it feels to be situated in the history of Pet Sematary?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an honor and a thrill and a pleasure. And Mary Lambert did such an amazing job, obviously, with the original film adaptations. And I think that that was something that I was very cognizant of, was coming at it from a female perspective and making sure there were more female characters represented in the movie that had a strong presence. And it was really important to add the character of Donna and Marjorie and Norma and even Judd's mom, that kind of says more by not saying anything than what she says. She's such a woman of the era, and just adding in the female perspective.
I think one of the other questions I wanted to ask too was Pet Sematary for me was kind of a seminal horror movie when I was younger. It brought me into the genre in a really great way. And I wanted to ask, what does it feel like to be potentially somebody's first Pet Cemetery movie? Like there may be people who watch this and it's their first time getting to hear the story, go to Ludlow and see what it's all about. How does that feel?
You are the first person to ask me that question, and that is an amazing question. That is an honor. It was for me too. Pet Cemetery was one of my entry points into horror, and something that I first read as a book very young, and then watched the movie with my sister over and over, and she hated it because it was too scary, and I loved it so much, but it created this horror addiction. So thinking that this could be something that awakens other young minds to the genre of horror and how important it is. I think, for our culture, it's something that allows you to face your fears and come out the other side. I truly believe that horror is actually very important psychologically, and so yeah, no, that's a fun thing to think about.
One of the things that I really appreciated about Pet Sematary Bloodlines is that the Native Americans aren't just kind of a story in the background. They're front and center here, and we get to see their actual story and connection to the cemetery. Can you talk a little bit about showcasing that?
Yeah, that was a really, really important element to me, and was a big focus of the rewrites that I did after I took over the scripting duties when I came on to be director. And for me, it was just so important to rewrite this lore we thought we knew about a Wendigo and a cursed land, and just say no, maybe that was superstition, maybe that was an outright lie to cover up the truth, whatever it was. Here's the story you don't really know, and to be able to tell that, of course, you need Native American point of view characters who get to finally tell their side of the story and be a real part and heart of the story. For me, Donna and Manny are just um, so much the heart and soul of the movie. And Manny to me is, well, he's on the poster. He's as much the hero as Judd is, and that was important to me.
What do you hope people take away from the film? Like once the credits roll, what do you want them to walk away kind of feeling and thinking?
Well, I mean, there are a few things. I hope they come away feeling like, when I was writing it and then when I was directing it, I was trying to give myself the answers that I wanted as a fan. And so I hope they come away from it thinking, yes, finally, now like these things that I like that didn't quite make sense to me before, like now I understand. I hope they also come away from it feeling like horror movies can be just as scary if they also have, a character drama and heart to them. And I also just hope they come away from it thinking about responsibility and the themes of responsibility and responsibility to tell stories responsibly, responsibility to our community, responsibility to our friends, to our family. Was really a theme that I thought about a lot. And that's why I ended it with the Stephen King quote about a man grows what he can and he tends to it, because it's a, it's from the book and it's very much about responsibility and Judd taking the mantle and kind of paying for what his forefathers did.
And I think that that's something really fascinating that this film does is the previous iterations of Pet Sematary or additions to the story of Pet Sematary, they're very personal and localized to one person and one family. But
Yeah.
there's almost a processing of collective
Yeah.
grief and helping others in this film. Can you talk a little bit about creating the community of Ludlow?
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the most fun parts for me. And, I felt like I had kind of like a murder board in my head of the whole community and what all their sins were, what they had done, what everybody knew about each other versus not. And I really wanted to shook it because yes, the previous incarnations have been so localized to a family grief. And certainly I tried to take that personal story of Bill Baterman and Timmy Baterman. And so we get that element, but I wanted to show the effect that this has on the entire town and how that notion of what would you do for somebody you love that is really at the core of all the Pet Sematary movies. How do you see that play out in different forms of relationships? Like Dan and Bill, played by Henry Thomas and David Duchovny, they do very different things for their sons, but with the same impulse, right? To protect them. And Dan just wants his Judd to get the hell out of Ludlow to protect him. And Bill wants to bring his son back to life to protect him. But it's very much comes from the same place of protection and wanting to do something for the ones they love. And then I wanted to extend that out to community members like Marjorie to protect, the people that she delivers mail to every day and have known since birth, and Manny and Judd and their friendship and what they do for each other and what they do to try to like put Timmy out of his misery, and what Donna would do for Manny, trying to help him kind of come into his own and get out of his own head.
And I think Manny and Judd is probably one of my favorite relationships of the film. There's an intimacy between them that I don't think often we get to see in films where two male characters
Yeah.
have know each other in a way where they kind of know them better than they know themselves.
Yeah.
What was it like crafting and working to bring that relationship on screen?
That was so rewarding, and that was kind of the center of the casting piece. I after I wrote those parts, and I just knew that whoever these two people were, they had to have amazing chemistry. So the casting process was really about chemistry reads between the two of them, as well as individual casting options. And Forrest and Jackson just had such an immediate chemistry with each other, and you really believed that they respected each other and that they could kind of riff off of one another. And there were so many times when we did, we'd get the takes that I wanted and I'd be like, okay, now you guys just say whatever, because I just want to see what comes out of your mouths. And sometimes that's what we used and sometimes it wasn't, but they just had this kind of ease with each other that was key to selling the roles in the movie to me.
And then as my last question, how does it feel to be premiering at Fantastic Fest? It's yeah.
Oh my God, it feels amazing to be at a genre festival full of people who love genre movies and who love horror. There's no better place to be premiering the movie. So I'm so thrilled and excited to watch it with a bunch of horror fans tonight.